Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to our webinar. Today we're going to talk about reducing weekly billing. As people are trickling in, let's go ahead and start using the chat. If you want to put where your hometown is or where you're located and what food is most popular in your city. Coffee. Coffee is always great. Spam. I'm going to go with Hawaii. Poke. Oh, I love it. Tacos. Pizza. Chicago deep dish. I overnight pizza from Chicago because I love deep dish so much. I'll have to connect with you after and figure out what the best one is in Chicago.
It's the one from New York that's hand tossed.
Lou Malnati's, that's where I get it. I actually have a shipment coming tomorrow. All right, you guys, you can see that we really want this to be interactive. So use the chat, ask questions, make sure it's to everybody. We do have a MyCase person that is managing the chat to answer any questions, and we'll go ahead and get started. All right, guys, my name is Ariana, and I manage a team of payment specialists here at MyCase. And today we're going to talk to one of our firms that utilizes the payments feature in our solution. Using the payments feature allows you to collect payments directly through your MyCase software. There's no additional monthly fee and no setup fee. I will be the host, and I will make sure that we stay on track and on time. Let's go ahead and meet our panelists. Paul joined the Sullivan Group in 2017 when his solo practice was acquired by the firm. Paul brings experience as a police officer, Navy veteran, and deputy prosecutor to his role at the firm. His practice is primarily focused on defending people accused of assault and DUI type offenses. As a former police officer, he knows how a proper investigation is to be conducted and also how investigations are often a rush to judgment. He knows well that an arrest is not a conviction and fights tirelessly for his clients. So thank you for joining us, Paul. I'd love for you to kick off and talk us through how you use MyCase payments to reduce your billing time by 20 minutes per week.
Sure. Hi. Well, thank you for having me. I use a couple different things. There's a bunch of tools that I think are very helpful. I started my practice initially by myself, so MyCase was a big help in that. When I first started, I didn't use MyCase. I foolishly used another program, and it made it quite difficult. And I was spending hours and hours getting billing done, trying to figure out what I did hourly, things like that. And there's been some really great tools that have been added to MyCase since I started using it that I find very useful. And I'm hoping to show you guys some tips on how to go about using these tools and improving your practices and kind of minimizing those things so you can get to the practice of law. So should we get started, or what do you want to do?
Let's do it. Yeah, let's go ahead. Why don't you take us into the Smart Time Finder?
Okay, so the first thing I use is the Smart Time Finder. If you want to drop your, or you let me screen share real quick, I'm going to show you. I have a case up here. This is not my firm, but this is a firm that we use, and or the MyCase system that we use. And I use the MyCase Finder. I think everybody who's in practice should definitely be tracking your time. I know a lot of us, myself, I'm in criminal defense. We don't track our time very frequently. A lot of us just kind of set flat rates and kind of go from there. At the same time, I need to know if I'm profitable. My boss likes to know if I'm profitable. And other times, at least in my state, in my home state of Washington, we get sanctions against the prosecution or against opposing counsel. If we know how much time we spent, we can actually really get those fees in, so that are reducing the burden to our clients and also to produce to show what our availability is. And so if you're not tracking your time, I highly recommend it. Also, if you ever have a dispute with a client, it's good to be able to show them what you actually did. Um, your whole staff can also use this too. So if you have paralegals and you want to know what they're doing, great opportunity for them to do that. So Ariana, can you see my screen right now?
I sure can.
All right, I'm gonna put a little spotlighter guy here. The first place that I go kind of at the end of my day is I go to the Smart Time Finder. I'm not gonna lie, I do this like maybe every other day. And when I go to the Smart Time Finder, this will show me all the things that I did throughout the day, whether it be completing a task, if it's answering a phone call. I track my phone calls pretty frequently. If I even sent a text message, those are all things that that are billable usually, right? And so if I have these billable times, I want to make sure I'm tracking them, but I don't necessarily go in and make a time entry. I think every one of us can probably recognize that. So here you see there's some examples of some stuff that were just automatically found by the the Smart Time Finder. I completed a task, or somebody completed a task here, and I didn't track it. It doesn't have a matching um, time entry. So this automatically does it. It says what time I did it, and here I am. I'm going to hit track time, and I can automatically go in and go back and fix this to um, to include in my timesheets. So we're going to call this time, this document drafting time, because we sent a task to completion there. We're going to set our rate. We'll just say 325 an hour. That's what everybody should be billing, and say it cost us a quarter an hour. Well, maybe that's a little long, but we just hit save and new, and we're already set. Now we've already just booked an additional quarter of an hour that we wouldn't have done before. Sometimes you have of a couple things that maybe they happen real quick, overlapping, like, and or maybe you did put a time entry in, and I'm thinking that this particular one here is going to be one of those. We have two phone calls; they're very close together in time. We're going to hit track, and it asks, "Did you already track this time?" Well, this was not part of the task that we completed, so this is a new time entry. So we'll just hit the new time entry, and we've tracked that one as well. Again, I'm just going to pick something fun here and add some numbers to it. But you could see in this case, because I ran a phone call, it automatically detected how much time that call took. So that's a really great feature because I did it once. I don't need to go back and try and remember. I used to have these steno pads that I used to write everything on. You can't see that because it just flipped out, but so that's a great way. Now we're up to 3/10 of an hour of time that we might have lost had we not been paying attention. Let me know if I'm going too fast. I'm from Jersey. We talk really quick. Um, so you'll see another option like this here. Now, in this case, let's say, yeah, you know what, this call is just an overlap. Maybe I tracked it, or maybe somebody else wrote it down for me, but I already did track this. We can just click this button here. It says this activity's already been tracked. We don't have to double up here. Okay. So that's just one way that Smart Time Finder I think is very helpful. It keeps track of the things you need. Um, So, can I answer the questions? I'm watching the Q&A here.
Please, yeah,
Okay,
jump in there. Show
so
us how you find the
Lisa,
Smart Time Finder.
sure. So Lisa, you're asking how did I track a phone call if I didn't make a time entry? There's actually in your cases, we'll pick a random open case here. Pick this one. This is not a real. These are not real cases, just for my folks who teach ethics out here. In the communications tab, you'll have a call log right here, and you could do an add call, and you'll see a timer starts automatically right down here, and you can answer that. You can make it an outgoing call or an incoming call. This is what smart time the smart time tracker will find. Okay, so if you did that, that's a one way that you would do it. Same with just completion of tasks. Sometimes a timer is running automatically. Um, if you are ever looking to go back to see where you wanted to find Smart Time Finder, you could get it right down here in the lower right-hand corner, right next to my hours billed for the day. There's another place you can get to it. I think it's under billing. I get to it. It's timesheet calculator, I believe is the way you can get to it. It's the other way. And you'll see find more billable time right here. And I hope that answers your question. So that's kind of the Smart Time Finder. It's one of the things that I use pretty regularly because I like to track my time. Like I said, I log everything usually because I'm taking notes when I, for example, take a phone call or if I have a memorandum I have to do. That's how I do it. So,
What's the most time that you've
what else
ever
should we talk
found?
about?
So using the Smart Time Finder, have you gone in there and found,
Um,
a couple hours that you forgot that you didn't invoice for because it was popped up here?
yeah, there's been quite a bit of time that I've found in there. I would say I think I put a cumulative couple of hours together that that I have done in there where I'll find a stack of phone calls. That's kind of usually the
Mm.
biggest one is phone calls that I haven't billed because I'll make a call, I'll hit the timer, I make another call, I hit the timer, I make a call, I hit the timer, I go back and fix the timer, but I never go back and make a time entry. Um, those are especially in kind of cases that I have where there's a complexity of a lot of different attorneys that I'm reaching out to, or maybe I'm reaching out to a prosecutor and their supervisor, then I have to call my client, then I have to go back and forth that way. Those are generally ways that I would find that where those time pieces come in. The other one is document drafting.
Mm.
I find a lot of time document drafting. So, but sometimes I have to cut those because it takes me forever to type. So, um, yeah. So there's that.
Wonderful. Well, again, a great way to find non-billed hours and be able to assign those to your
Yeah.
cases. So why don't you take us into our
Yeah.
lead invoices? Show us the lead invoice generator.
Sure. I think this is actually the thing that saves me the most amount of time in my process. I'm actually in the process now of having my entire staff. We used to take phone calls and we'd write a whole email to everybody to complete our leads and things like that. And then it used to be, especially with COVID, it's been really difficult, right? Because we couldn't, in Washington, we were restricted from having people come into our offices. So we had to figure out how to do these things live and or do these things remotely. And so the lead system in itself has been very, very helpful in that. Instead of sending an email which gets missed, we just have our staff is now almost entirely placing everything in our leads files. And then when we get a lead, we talk to them on the phone. They decide, hey, we want to hire them. We can draft our documents, our fee agreement documents right up after we work out our fee agreement documents, we usually send an invoice for either a down payment or we convert the case and set it up through like a payment plan. I'm a big fan of both of those things. I generally tend to use this more than anything when it comes to making money for my firm because we are generally a I take everything flat fee. So let's take a look at that. We have a new lead here, for example. You can see David Moore with a $15,000 case, right? We're going to move him over to pending because we're going to pretend like he went ahead and and hired us. He signed his fee agreement, but now I got to get him an invoice. Okay. Now, for you folks who are taking cases on trust, there is a good way you can request money for your trust account through this same process. So we could go through that in just a second as well. But we just go up here to billing in our leads, and you can do an add new. And this is where you can do a fund request, which would be great because you're just asking people to put funds in your trust, or you could do a consultation invoice. I'm going to tell you right now, this is not a consultation invoice for me. This is a down payment, and I make sure that my clients know that. I don't charge for consultations. If you do, though, that's a great way to do it too, because before you get somebody in the door, you can collect that consultation invoice so that they can pay. This way you're not wasting everybody's time, right? I used to do consultation work. There's nothing wrong with taking paid consultations. Um, if that's the case, I highly recommend you do that. You do it this way. So we just select an invoice number. I'm going to copy and save that for now because we're going to want that in a little bit. Let's say it's a $15,000 case. We decided to bill it on a flat rate. We could do $3,000 down. I change this right here to say, thank you for your down payment on legal fees. And then we can send it right there. Or you got the client on the phone, they say, hey, we want to take your credit card. We could pay it right here via the credit card. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We have a card we're going to throw in here from Mr. Moore. If you guys want to steal this card number, go ahead. It is fake, I'm told, or I'm going to buy a really nice lunch. So we'll pick May 2025. And the very exciting part of this is to watch me insert numbers into a finance. So we could say, see how we have saved this card for future payments? That's going to be really helpful. Here's a pro tip for you. Put that in your fee agreement. Those of you who are ethical folks or who are concerned about legal ethics, you shouldn't save somebody's credit card information for future payments unless they've signed off or agreed for you to do so. I think there's some caution you should do that, but I always put that in my fee agreements. So I'm going to make the payment here. Forgot to pick a year. We're going to make this payment. We can confirm the payment there. And look at that. We've already got it. Your lead has now been sent a invoice or a receipt. You could print it right from here, which I actually do for my bookkeeper because she prefers printed copies for some reason. And then we're good to go. So now we've got that funds. It's been accepted. We have a invoice number all ready to go. And this is where if you're doing, if you're going to be doing, you're going to take a credit card the same day. I could save you a ton of time right here. Skip this process, convert the case first, which is what I'm going to do right now. And you could set it all up in one shot. I'm a big believer in this. I think you skip over that initial request, set up the case. We continue to billing, pick our billing method. There's going to be a flat fee. I think we said it was 15,000 bucks. Right. Continue on. We're going to staff this thing out. I'm going to speed through this real quick, guys. Save an invoice. Now watch this. This is pretty slick. So we could create our new invoice right away. We're going to have this pay straight to our operations account. And right down here, you can do, we don't have notice of our $5,000 that we already took. So we need to make sure we do a discount, right? We just throw an adjustment in. We're going to apply it to the flat fees. We're going to pick a specific amount. That invoice number we saved, remember I copy pasted that earlier. We're just going to do that right here. Now we've got the invoice. We could say what it's for. I think I took 3,000. I don't think I took a full 5. So, and that'll automatically adjust your invoice. So most of my clients, a huge number of them, they need payment plans. I don't know a lot of people who just sit on 15 or 12,000 bucks. So we start this payment plan. MyCase generates this automatically. I'm going to tell you a real quick story. The way I used to do this, I used to have a binder and had 31 dividers in it. And each divider was a day of the month. Okay. And every month I had a contract that said what day, what I was supposed to take out from a credit card or what check I should be expecting. Okay. And every day I had to switch that book, look at all the people who paid on that day. 1st and the 15th is always the busiest, right? I had to go through that process every single day. It was very, very frustrating in order for me to get paid. Now I just let this do all the work for me. I go and check my bank account and I have all my payments. Okay. We're making installment payments here. MyCase figures out a good proportion of this for you. I do monthly payments. You could do them weekly or however you want to do them. Another tip, make your start date the date of the month you want this payment to be drawn. Very helpful. Most of my clients are going to be on the 15th. Like I said, so we'll make the first payment on June 15th for the sake of argument. We're going to make them pay 500 bucks a month is what they agreed to. First payment's going to be $500. Now, remember I said if you're going to be making those payments, or you're gonna take that initial payment, this is where you would put that initial payment down for today. You would still pick your next date or pick the date, even if it's backdated, right? Like, so say May 15th is when I signed this client on. I'm going to pick my first start date as May 15th, even though it's the 27th. And I'll show you why. When we apply this over here, you're going to see all the dates are selected for you. Okay. It's easier to change just one if you need to make that one payment. So that's why we do that. Okay. We set that payment up. We hit apply. We're good to go there. And then if you've gotten permission, look at this. You could just select the Visa card. If they've gotten your permission. MyCase gives you a bright and intelligent notice to go ahead and make sure you have agreements and approval to do so. Hit save. Now this will be automatically scheduled. You don't have to go back. You just got to watch for it. That's it. I find this to be one of the easiest and best ways to do this. I've used a lot of different softwares to do this before. This one I think makes the most sense. It's easy for my staff and my bookkeeper to follow. So highly recommend that you can go through this process next time. I think it makes it a lot easier. What
That
else you
saves a
got,
lot of
Ariana?
time. I hope you threw away that binder, by the way. Hope you got rid of that
I
completely.
did. Yeah, there's no
Why
binder
don't you
anymore.
why don't you show us how you set up reminders for the invoices?
Well, sure. First thing is once I'm in a reminder, I could do an automatic one right here. Just automate your reminder. There's just a click box right there. I do that on all my invoices. I'm not gonna lie. I sometimes give them extra reminders. The other thing you could do is once you save this, we're gonna go ahead and save this. Oh, we forgot to let our client know to share it with them. We can share via portal. Let's do that first. It's important. And if I'm going too fast, let me know. We have a little remind button right here. Okay. We can always send a new reminder just by clicking this box right here. By default, when you set up a payment plan, the reminder automatically sends, I believe it's 5 days in advance. Might be less than that, but it's pretty soon. So something to keep track of. You've got that reminder right there, set reminder, and they're automatically notified of it. Another pro tip, you can send these invoices through text message, and it also makes it a lot easier. I find the majority of my younger clients, they prefer that I text message them to email or having to go through the portal. They can click a link, put their credit card number in. Most of them save their credit card numbers right now. It does integrate with QuickBooks. I see Heather Couch has asked. This does use QuickBooks Online, which is what we use, and it does integrate. You need to be cognizant in your QuickBooks of the payment numbers. So that's the one thing, but it does integrate with QuickBooks. So that's what she uses, QuickBooks Online, the online version. So hope that answers your question. All right. What
Awesome,
else
Paul.
can we talk
Well, so
about? We
now,
converted a case.
yeah, let's show how do we see what's overdue? We've now created an invoice, we've sent it to the client, we've sent them a reminder for this. How do we know what's still out due, what we need to collect, and what the firm has received?
Sure. That is definitely that's honestly, I don't use a lot of reporting for my case because my boss does all the reporting. He looks at my stuff, but I do look to see who's overdue, especially when my clients call me. I almost always know that. If we go to our billing dashboard, we get actually kind of a real nice little setup here. You can go through invoices here. On the face page here, you can actually see there's a couple of overdue pieces, and everything's really nice because it does link directly to the overdue invoices. So if we're looking at this graph right here, you could say that I have $8,700 overdue at 17.95%. I wish that I didn't have overdue invoices at that low level, but for the most part, um, they you can look at these overdue invoices. You could see some draft invoices, what was sent, what's been paid, what's partially paid. You can click right here at this overdue, and this is really what I like to know. I want to know all these people who are overdue. Um, I don't spend a ton of time here, except for when I look through my cases. I generally tend to see who I have coming up. So I have cases or court coming up. I will generally look to see who has a due bill because we like to talk to them about that before we get moving into it. Our state is pretty good about letting us withdraw, but one of the reasons you can withdraw is if you're not getting paid. Nobody should have to work for free, and I think this is a good way of going about it. Also, if you have overdue invoices, uh, I've known people who basically say, I'll pay the lawyer less because that's what makes them call me. And he's absolutely right. Uh, Not a great plan, but it is true. You will get more phone calls from the lawyer if you owe them money. So generally, this is a good way to look and see who's paying you and who's not. You can see it brings you right to this overdue invoice portion and kind of grays out the rest of this. If you want to see how I got to that before from the home screen, we would go billing and we go straight down the invoices, and then you could pick overdue. There we go. So that is how we do that.
Perfect. Thanks for showing us the dashboard and where you go to see where invoices are past due. So I'm sure there's
Yeah.
somebody in your office that you don't want to have full access to the entire system and you want to restrict some of their permissions. How do you do that with MyCase?
Yes. Pull that guy off there. So the easiest way to go about that is to change their permissions in their user settings. I dry run this today because I actually onboarded a new staff member, and she did not need access to certain things. And folks, like, I'm not saying you shouldn't share things with your staff, or you should. I think that you should be cognizant of what you're sharing. One of the things that we don't share is our financial, kind of what's the financial status of the entire firm. That's not necessary for most of your staff to know. Um, so the way we can do this is I went up to here where your name is, and you go to settings. That's where your permission settings are going to be. We can go to our firm users, and you can see this firm has tons of them, like probably too many. When you see this, you could see that their permissions are basically all firm cases, but we can minimize this down by clicking this little pencil here. So poor Anne, she's an attorney who does not need to see my financial future. So we can click that she is restricted to see absolutely view only. She can't make any changes to time and expenses. We can hide it from her completely. We can add her access to allow and review it. We can restrict her just to time entries. I don't need her to see what the financial outlooks or insights of our firm is. But also in this reporting area, we can also remove or set hers to personal reporting as opposed to the entire firm. That is how I set my firm up. I think it's unnecessary for me to know, except for the folks who work under me, what the other attorneys in my office are doing. That's not my business. They might have different deals. But if you're head of a business, you should definitely be looking at your entire firm and thinking about if there's going to be some problems if you do allow everybody access to that information. Hopefully you're doing great, right? It's always good to see graphs on the upswing, but sometimes we have some downturns, especially those who practice personal injury cases. You know, you could be spending a lot of money and you see them what those expenses look like a lot more because you're anticipating a big return at the end of the day. That can look really scary to employees. So I think a lot of the times it's best to keep that out, but you got to choose what you're going to do with that, you know. So so that's how you do that there. Once we're done, we hit save permissions. We're just going to restrict poor Ann. She doesn't need to see any stuff. She just needs to view it. So we hit save, and now she will be restricted in her billing section from seeing all this stuff. So I actually wish I had a way of, I don't know if I can actually restrict myself from doing it. Otherwise I'd show you guys how it looks. But what I can tell you is from my staff basically, they don't have this billing area here. Another interesting point of that is if you don't allow them permission to add or remove certain things, they will not be able to take credit cards for you. My firm has a policy that only some of us can take credit cards. I think it's best practices to be very restrictive of what information you get from them, which is also why I usually like my clients to put their own credit card information in through either the client portal, through a text message with the link, or to pay for by e-check through the client portal. I think it just saves me being the middleman and having to touch things, saves me from having to click that box that says take an automatic payment every month. If your client chooses to do that, that's great. Let them do it, and then you can deal with that on the other end. Make sense?
Great. Sure does. Great advice too. Always looking for ways to save time. Time is money.
Yeah.
Speaking of, we've gone through a lot of ways already, and I'm curious, looking at your bio, what have you done with the additional time that you've saved by using MyCase payments? More time to have new
Uh,
clients, more jujitsu.
so unfortunately, COVID precludes me from doing jujitsu right now because when you're folding somebody up in their clothes, you have to be very close to them. So I don't do that very often. I've just taken up kayaking, so that's been really fun lately. Actually, just started doing that. I am also part of an improv troupe, and we do a lot of. We've been doing a lot of practice since we no longer can. We couldn't perform while our theaters are currently closed. So, but we intend to be fantastic after that. And I
Awesome.
take on a lot more clients. By having more time away from this, I feel like I serve my clients a lot better. I can put more time and energy into their cases, and I resolve cases a lot faster. So yeah,
That, that's good. Get to explore more things with more time back for you. Well, we have a little bit more
for
time.
sure.
I do have a bonus on here. I would love it if you could go over trust accounting with us.
Sure. All right. Yeah. So trust accounting. I went to a terrible law school. I'm going to put that out there. Wasn't because I just needed to go to school, right? I'm a good lawyer. Don't get me wrong. But one of the greatest things about my law school they did something called general practice strategies. They called it GPS. They anticipated some of us were going to go into private practice right out of school. Um, One of the things you need to be very careful and cognizant of, and every lawyer knows this, is you will lose your license if you mess with your trust account. So trust accounting is super important. Most of us use a triple booking system, which means you have to give your client an account, you get your operations account, and then you have the trust account, and then you have to shuffle that money through each of those things. MyCase does a really good job about this. One of the things that it allows you to do is first is you can pick a contact. And you can ask for money to be put into a trust, right? Um, it's a real nice system because you can just do your trust accounting. You can, I think, who was it earlier? Heather asked earlier. Um, Heather asked earlier, does it go in your QuickBooks? It does account for both trust and for your operations account. So both can be with your accounting software. Um, we're going to pick a person here. And we just need a client. We're going to pick this person here. We can go to billing. We can go to request first and foremost, let's ask for money, right? So we do a funds request and we ask it to be put into our trust account, right? We're gonna just say, let's say 500 bucks. Weirdly, um, we could just send this as an email real quick. And once it gets logged, we'll get that funds here. She can go back and put that money in all on her own, right? We don't have to do anything. We could also just say, you know what, we got the money, so we can allocate it to her trust account. Okay, so that's the amount due. We're going to edit this. Oh, hang on, let me go back. Sorry, this is not one I've practiced here, so I've kind of went through some of these other ones. Let's go to invoicings. Where's it at? Trust history. Deposit into trust. Here we go. So say we get the money from the trust account. We're going to apply this funds to her account. We're going to take our credit card payment. Oh, interesting. You're not allowed to charge interest on trust money. So MyCase does all the fun stuff for you so that you are not getting interest charged against your trust. It's against the rules, which is why legal payments is a weird thing. This takes care of all that for you. We're going to say we took an offline payment here. Sorry, that was a weird juxtaposition. So we're going to say to sync with QuickBooks. Oh, there you go. Heather, hope that answers that question, and deposit those funds. We're going to confirm that deposit. And now she has trust funds in her account. Nice and easy. You follow me so far, Ariana?
Sure am.
So now we need to allocate those trust funds somewhere, right? So we're going to go to billing. We're going to go to invoices. We're going to add an invoice here because we have an expense. I hired an expert for this client here. Okay. And the expert, I paid that person out. Oh, sorry, I got to add an expense here. Boop, boop, boop. Expense. Add an expense. We're going to go back and find that person real quick. Oh no, I don't know. I don't remember her name. Do you remember her name?
No.
It's okay. We could just go to the we can go to the billing dashboard and just go right to recent activity. This is fun. I like doing this on the fly here. We're going to go to recent activity. Here we go. This is the client. We're going to go to her case. She doesn't have a case. Come on, man. I got to add a case real quick. This will take no time. Let's do this. She's on the Adams case for some reason now. Here we go. Adams case. Now we're going to add an expense. Sorry about this. This is kind of fun. We're going to add an expense. Oh, conveniently, there's a filing fee. That works out great. Okay, so, and it's invoiced. We're going to go to the invoice. We're going to view this invoice here. Should be, ooh, where'd my invoice go? Ayana, this is not going well for me here. Hang on a second. We're going to add a new
Hey,
invoice.
this is real life. This shows you this is what we
It
do
is.
when we're looking for an invoice. We want to apply something. This is what we go through. So
Yeah,
it's a great example of how easy it is
yeah.
and the steps that we need to take.
So we're going to add Tom the expert. He cost $500. Let's do that. $500. Quantity is going to be 1, although usually you get a flat fee option in some of these expenses here. Then we're going to invoice this thing out. We're going to invoice it and share it with, I think it's Adana. Great access. Share. Great. So we can now allocate the $500 directly from the trust account to this particular invoice because we've already paid. Make sense?
Sure does.
All right, so we save and share. We apply that. And when we go back to her, we should see that her trust account now is going to, what happened there? Oh, I haven't picked a deposit account. That happens. So now what has happened is we've taken the money that we've taken from her case. We've moved it into the trust account when she paid us. Now we're moving it out of the trust account into the operations account to return our money. Okay. Oh, I'm seeing a bunch of chat questions here. I have horrible ADHD, so hang on.
It's okay. Well, one of the things I thought was really that I would love if you could say it again is that when you have a trust account and interest, the way that MyCase is already set up to prevent you from charging that interest. Would you repeat that?
Right. So the rules of professional conduct do not permit you to charge interest on a trust account. Okay. So money that's placed in trust, you can't charge interest on. I can't say every state, but I can certainly say the majority of states, the 4 states that I've worked in as an attorney, you can never charge interest. So the courts of most states have determined that that means that you can't use a credit card to pay on your trust account. Okay. Because you'd be gaining interest, even if I don't collect the interest on it. So there are some workarounds through that, and companies like LawPay and MyCase have figured out that if you apply a credit card towards a trust account, those trust entries do not get interest billed. I'm not exactly sure how that works. I think, and I'm going to say what I think happens is they treat it like a cash advance. So the interest is not, we're the ones not billing against an interest. Okay. The other thing is your credit card processor is not allowed to charge a 3% charge, kind of like MyCase would, based on that, right? So those trust account pieces come in as though they're cash. And this way you're not violating the rules of professional conduct. That's how I presume it would work. And I think that that's a really good way of going about it because it is a workaround because people can't pay money sometimes. They don't have the cash to give you money for your trust, and sometimes you can't float them the money, especially if, like, my criminal clients. A lot of times they have to put it on a credit card. So to avoid violating those rules of professional conduct, or that's kind of a good way of doing it, letting a third party processor handle your trust accounts and things of that nature. Going back here, we now see this trust had $500 in it. Now it does not. See that negative $500? And that's because the payment method was through the trust on this particular invoice. So that was kind of what we were going around about to do that.
Perfect.
Looking at Lisa. Lisa asked a question: how does restrict billing to view only mean Anne? Can she see for the entire firm or only for her entries? She can only see her entries if you restrict her view. That's so that she does not have access to everybody. Again, might not be proper for an attorney, but you can restrict out paralegals or other professional staff who you might not want to see what the attorney's billing. I don't think my staff even knows what my hourly billing is, just because they don't need to know that information sometimes. So, ooh, somebody's asking about these booking entries do not actually move money from an account or entering to their review each check for each region. I don't know the answer to that question. I'm trying to see if
Nope.
I can answer questions while we're sitting
No
here.
problem. If your question did not get answered, we'll make sure that we reply back to you and get you those answers. Please make sure you use everyone so we can all check out the questions in here and get back to you. In the respect of time, let's go ahead and recap what you've shared with us, Paul. You've done a great job going through everything that we've gone over today.
Yeah, sure thing. Real quick, Sam Calvert, he asked, and he is absolutely right. I did mean transaction fees, not interest. You're not allowed to charge a transaction fee for credit cards into trust. I think that's what he's meaning, and I think that he's absolutely right on that. Sorry, I misspoke. So today we did some Smart Finder stuff. I highly recommend using that. Again, even if you do flat rate work, you should know what your value is. Somebody once told me that, if it's not worth it for you to, if it costs you more time to fix your own car than it would for a mechanic, you probably should hire the mechanic to do it. Your time is valuable, and you should be keeping track of how much time you're spending on things. Smart Time Finder is a great way to do it. It's a great way to find time that you might have forgotten to bill. I have fully integrated a lot of my stuff into MyCase, keeping track of phone calls, keeping track of tasks and memorandums and emails and all the fun stuff that MyCase keeps track of automatically. I think that's a really good way of doing it. I also find lead billing is a fantastic and easy way to get your down payments made or your initial funding that you need for whatever you're looking to do there. Converting cases after you have somebody sign a contract, but before you bill them, I think is a great way to go about that. You can set up a nice payment plan. You can send invoice reminders automatically every month with your payment plans, and you can track that information directly through MyCase, which allows you to look at overdue invoices. There's a ton of billing reporting. I'm a big fan of that. When I ran my own practice, I no longer do my own bookkeeping, so I'm very lucky in that regard. I don't do that as much anymore.
And Paul, we did that with the leads, but we can do that with our clients as well. So we showed you the leads today.
Absolutely.
So you could do the same thing with your current clients.
Yeah, absolutely. You can at any time. And what we did in that same regard, we had to send an additional invoice. We asked for trust funds. You can request funds all the time. In fact, actually, once we get off this call, I'm going to be doing that. I have a case that I have to hire somebody. I need to request funds from that client. I sent him a text message right through MyCase because I don't let people have my phone number. I'm a criminal defense attorney. You should not give your phone number to your clients. Office and use the MyCase app so you can text message people. Sorry.
No problem.
But you could add invoices anytime. You can always set reminders for your clients, and you should be seeing who's not paying you. What else did we do? We talked about trust accounting. We did payment plans, and you could restrict your staff or give them freedom, as much freedom as you want. You might have a real whiz of a paralegal who can improve your billing, or maybe you have an intake specialist who needs to see how each person is performing. Those are all going to be things that you could do through the billing and reporting system, and allowing them access to kind of some insights as to what's getting done. I could tell you a weird kind of aside. My insights last year told me that I need to increase my marketing. Um, at certain times of the year. I can tell you that I increase my marketing now after Memorial Day because everybody's getting DUIs. It's a big part of my business. Thanksgiving's a huge one. These things seem maybe intuitive to some folks, but I also found out that after Halloween, I get a huge spike of DUI cases. So now I know, based on those insights, that I'm gonna start marketing probably just before Halloween and just before Thanksgiving, because I could see those things coming in. So
And payment reporting. So that's probably what gave you a good insight to where those spikes are. Looking at where
absolutely.
the number of cases come in, you have that dashboard.
Mhm.
You're able to see, get the entire firm as a whole and see where the revenue is, where the billed versus collected is from all cases in your total revenue across the firm.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
you mentioned our trust accounting. This is a way that you can track the trust funds for each client. It is very helpful if you have multiple cases for clients. You can have a dedicated trust and minimum balances, and the staff permissions. I know we went over that, but I want
Yeah.
to make sure that you guys set that appropriately to whatever your staff needs are. If you don't want someone to be able to see what the billed hours are or the entire revenue for the firm, you're able to set that by user basis. All right,
Absolutely.
well, we're getting
Ariana,
close to the end there.
you actually had one more thing that you said that I kind of forgot to add. Um, this does create an evergreen account, which is fantastic for you billable hour attorneys. I didn't mention it in trusts because I don't do it, but I used to. I used to do a lot of trust work, like estate planning work, where I had a billable account. An evergreen account is awesome. It's just a shorthand way of saying that, like, it'll notify the client when you've billed against their trust to a certain level and they have to replenish the trust amount. uh, Super automatic. I like that. I like being able to look at a case and seeing what they have in trust, what the evergreen looks like in that, and that is an automatic system that you can set up, or you can set up a minimum trust balance. Forgot to. That was awesome. So
No, that's a great point. Thanks for bringing that up with us. Thank you, Paul, for walking us through Smart Time Finder, generator, payment plans, reporting, staff permission, a lot today. It's firms just like yours that lead us to 96% of our customers recommending MyCase, and 83% feel like we make a better client experience. So thank you again for sharing. We will have an exit survey at the end of this webinar. The question is, would you like to learn more about MyCase payments? Again, there's no charge to set this up. There's no monthly fee. I'll set you up with one of my team members who will get you through the MyCase payment setup and get it turned on so you can start receiving payments for your clients. If you have any lingering questions, you can always reach out to me. I'm happy to answer any questions, respond to the survey. I'm happy to chat through these. Thank you again. Appreciate your time. If you guys want more information like this, check out our MyCase blog. Have a wonderful day. Thanks for joining, everyone.
thank you.